Hi, everyone. I have something on my heart that I want to share with everyone, and mostly I want to put it on, get it like recorded for my grandkids and their grandkids. And I think nowadays, video is like the only way to go. I could type it, but I think the best thing to do is just like tell it like it is. And so today I kind of want to talk about something that happened to me that disabled me. And it happened, well, the reason I even want to talk about it is because I feel like this could happen to anybody. And if you're like too busy or, you, you have a lot of responsibility, but there's things that you really want to do, like buy a Harley and ride in the mountains and let the wind blow in your face, or go camping, or spend more time with your kids, or it doesn't matter what it is. Just some things that travel, just anything that you desire to do but you're too busy to do. I say make time, because time is something you might not have. Uh, I mean, you might not die or you might not be gone, but what if something happened that eventually or totally took away your ability to do certain things, or to enjoy your life, you know, like that. But anyways, what I want to talk about is something that happened to me in April of 2000. So this last April 1st, which is like a joke, what is every April Fool's joke thing? But April 1st, 2000, I went into the hospital and I had a surgery for a blockage in my right leg. But what led up to that event, it was actually 7 days prior. Um, I was driving home from work and I was feeling weird in my heart, and or actually maybe it was 8 days or 9 days. But anyways, I I went to I called my doctor. Thank God for cell phones, and he told me to go to the ER, and I did. And the ER checked me out, and they said they really couldn't find anything, but they recommended me to a vascular surgeon. And so I made the appointment to the vascular surgeon, and he had me do a treadmill, and I got on the treadmill, and I didn't do well on the treadmill. I was getting out of breath and stuff, but I actually, you know, I think I was all right. I just needed to catch my second wind, but he didn't like how I was breathing heavy and stuff, and he didn't, I feel, give me enough time to get it, to get used to the thing moving up and stuff like that. If you would have left me alone for a couple more minutes, I would have got into a rhythm. I'm sure of it. I mean, I hike even today, even with a bum leg. I hike around and I get into a rhythm. It hurts to hike. It takes me days to recover, but only I'm still gonna do it. Because I'm gonna do everything I can. I'm not gonna let. I mean, there's a lot of things I can't do, but only there's some things I can do, and I'm gonna keep doing them just so that I don't wind up in a wheelchair. So, anyways, I failed the test, and he told me, well, we need the golden standard, or the gold standard, as he calls it, was an angiogram. And he scheduled one for the following morning at 7 o'clock. And I went in and did the angiogram, and I woke up in the ICU. Now, I've been in ICUs because my dad had passed away at age 48 at his second triple bypass. he had his first heart attack at 34 and a subsequent triple bypass, and they were going in when he was 48, and they were redoing it. I don't know if it's the way he lived or if it was hereditary. I think it had a lot to do with how he lived, not so much that it was a family thing, because there really isn't a history of heart disease in our family except for him. But anyways, when they heard that, they're like, oh, we have to go look inside of you and make sure your arteries are clear. Now, I pretty much was exercising and weightlifting, and I lived in the mountains. I was hiking up and down hills and stuff. We had a mountain behind our house, and I would hike up and sit and look at the valley lights a lot. I mean, I hiked around there and weed whacked and mowed. I mean, I think I was pretty healthy. I mean, I smoked, but I think I was still healthy. But anyways, they do the angiogram. I wake up in the ICU, and I'm thinking, what in the world is wrong with me? The ICU? So the first nurse that walks by, I grab her, and I say, hey, why am I in the ICU? What happened? Is there, I'm really concerned about being in there. And looking at all these glass doors and curtains and all these people laying there looking like they're half dead, and everything. Oh man, if you've ever been in one, you know what I'm saying. Anyways, she says, "Oh, there's nothing wrong. We just didn't have anywhere to put you." I thought, what? You didn't have anywhere to put me? They'll park you in a hallway before they put you in an ICU. It's too expensive to put people in there unless something's really wrong. And that's what I told her. And she says, no, really, the doctor just wanted to keep an eye on you, and this is the only room we had available. I'm like, serious? This is pretty scary, but okay. So this is like 8 o'clock in the morning now. So 8 o'clock, and then almost right away, these two nurses come in, and one has a blood pressure cuff, and she puts it on my ankle, and she checks the blood pressure in each ankle, and they both, hold the ankle, checking the pulse, and they smile, and they're making small talk, and I ask them, is everything, oh yeah, you're fine, doctor just said to check on you. But then every half hour, two different nurses would come in and check the pulse. I mean, I never had the same two nurses check the pulse. Around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, I think just about every nurse in the hospital has come by and checked the pulse and the blood pressure in my ankles. And I'm starting to get a little bit concerned. And I ask, and they're doing a shift change. So the new nurse comes on, and it's a guy. And I'm like, hey, man, what is wrong with me? And he says, oh, it's just, a protocol, and I don't know about that. I took my dad in for angiograms, and it was like an in and out thing, outpatient. You go in, you get your angiogram, you go out, doctor calls you later. You don't wind up in the ICU, So after a while, it starts getting on to about 9 o'clock, and I'm starting to get pretty nasty with everyone. I want out of there. If there's nothing wrong, I want out. If there's something wrong, I want to know what it is, and I'm hungry. And I tell them, I'm hungry, I want something to eat, I want to go home, I want to hear what's wrong with me. I mean, come on now. So finally they bring me a meal, and then around 11:30 p.m., now this is all day, right? This is all day. They let me out. And I am so glad to get home. Man, I couldn't get out of that place fast enough, tell you the truth. And I really wasn't really concerned with, if anything was wrong with me or not. So I get home, and they must have been putting pain meds in the IV, because I really wasn't feeling any pain in the hospital. But at home, the pain started coming on, and the very next day, I was rolling around in pain on the floor, and I was telling my wife, oh my God, something's wrong, call the the cardiologist didn't tell him something's wrong with me. So she calls him, and they put me on the phone. He wants to talk to me, and they put me on the phone, and he says, "Don't be a baby. It's gonna hurt." And I'm thinking, I don't think that my whole leg is supposed to hurt. I tell him it's hurting so bad I can't even walk, and burning and on fire and ache, and there's something totally really wrong. And he's like, no, it's gonna hurt for a few days. So I give it a few days, and then I do something that I should have never done, and that was put the leg up. Okay, when you have a blockage, you want as much blood in the leg as possible. You don't want to drain it back the other way. Well, it hurt so bad I thought I should be raising my leg. So when I wasn't rolling around in pain, I had my leg up, and I was actually laying on the floor with my leg up, propped up. I couldn't get comfortable anywhere, so the floor was like the best place to roll around, and that's where I stayed. So after 3 days, I tell my wife, something is really wrong. Call the doctor again. So she called them, and they said the doctor said, is busy, and they'll give him a message, and he'll call back. I was like, okay. So the next day, the doctor didn't call back, and this time now I'm starting to call. I start calling. And I tell him, hey, and the doctor's not in, and he'll call you back. And I go, you better call me back. Something's wrong. And they're like, he'll call you back. And the next day, he hadn't called me back, so I started calling him every hour. But I was getting put on a message machine, voicemail, and I was leaving voicemails like, call me back, call me back. So after 7 days, I decide I'm just going to go in there. I don't know why I didn't even think to go to the ER, but I didn't. I kept on thinking, this guy, he kept saying it wasn't anything, so I just want him to check it out just to make sure. So I drive up to the office where he's at, and I see his car has his license plate on it, and I pull in next to it. It's a really nice little $80,000 Acura. A little sports car model, real nice. And I go in the office, and I wait in line. The place is packed. I finally get to the receptionist, and I tell her, I need to see the doctor today. And she tells me that's impossible. Look around, it's packed. And she looks at the computer, and she says, how about in 2 weeks? And I told her, no, how about in 2 minutes? And she looked at me and says, that's impossible. I told her, I tell you what, I'll give you 45 minutes. And, she's starting to get put out with me because I'm being pushy. I tell her, all right, 45 minutes. I'm going to give you 45 minutes. If nobody calls me back in that room in 45 minutes, I'm going to jump up and down on the doctor's car. She goes, you don't know which one it is. I go, it says Boran right on the license plate. And it's nice, and I'm going to be out there jumping up and down in 45 minutes. And I went and sat down. I didn't say another thing. 5 minutes goes by, and the little door opens, to the back, and the doctor pokes his head out and calls my name. And I jump up and hobble in there, and when I get in the back, he just starts cussing me out. You don't gotta, threatened to jump up and down on my car, and I tried to argue with him and defend myself and say, nobody was going to see me. And he says, well, come this way. And as we're going to the little examination room, he is just ripping me with cuss words. I mean, I really made him mad. I touched a nerve when I said I was going to jump up and down on his car, but at least it got me in there, and I was kind of a little bit smiling to myself, I know how to see a doctor now, really fast. Just say you're going to jump up and down on their sports car. But he gets in there, and he gets me up on the examination table, and he gets down to my ankle, and he starts, he's holding it like this. There's a pulse. he tells me, there's a pulse. There's nothing wrong with you. I told him, man, you're on the wrong ankle. And he starts cussing again, and he goes to the other ankle, and he's down there. He says, I think there's a pulse. I go, you think? You think there's a pulse? You're telling me you think there's a pulse. On this leg, you said there's a pulse. On this side, you say you think. I go, I don't go for I think. I think that we need to figure out why you said I think there's a pulse. He starts cussing up and down. He goes, maybe we should get you an ultrasound. And I never heard a doctor cuss so much. I mean, I thought it was totally unprofessional. It was starting to get to me, grate on me a little. He goes, I'll order an ultrasound. And he gets on the phone and talks on the phone. And then he says, okay, I ordered you an ultrasound. And I said, today. And he started cussing again. He goes, how's 20 minutes? Fine, when I forgot to say, when he said do the ultrasound, I told him I wanted another doctor to do it. I didn't, I wasn't having him do anything after this. I'm like, have another doctor do it. That made him cuss a lot as he went to the phone. But he said, 20 minutes was fine. I get in my car and I drive like a couple miles to this other cardiologist. And I go in and they just rush me straight in. And he has a little wand. He has me take my pants off and get up on the exam table. He has a little wand. It looks like a little microphone thing. And he tells me that he's going to check the pulse, And he goes right to the left leg, which is not the leg. But he goes over there and he's like, got it behind my knee in the bend of my leg. And it's like, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. He looks at me and then he moves it down, to my ankle. And he's like, ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And he's looking at me funny. And I told him, really, it's the other leg. And he's like, oh, he goes, I was just checking to make sure, that everything's working good. I'm like, okay, So then he puts it over on the other leg and puts it behind the knee into the bend, and nothing. But you could, every once in a while he'll move it around. You can hear it going as he moves it around. But once it stops, it's like. Then he moves it down to the ankle. He's like, oh my God. He goes, we need to send you to the hospital like right now. And he goes on the phone, gets on his little phone, and next thing I know, this doctor comes in, and he says, meet him at the hospital. They're going to do another angiogram and get there pronto. Like, he's leaving right now. I'm leaving right now. I'm like, cool. So where the actual first procedure angiogram was done was Clovis Community Hospital. He sends me to Fresno Community Hospital. I get in there, the fastest I ever went through a hospital. I'm going to tell you right now, I went up to the front desk, said my name. Before I even knew what was going on, there was a wheelchair, somebody dropped me in this wheelchair, and away we went, and I'm signing papers, all the way. And they go in and they prep me for an angiogram, and I'm kind of a little bit worried about the angiogram part, and I'm telling them I'm kind of concerned, and they say, don't worry, everything's fine, you're in the best hands, thinking, yeah, that's what everybody told me about the other guy, Baran. They said he was like one of the best in the valley. Well, yeah. Well, anyways, they tell me I might be awake during this procedure, and but only I knock right out, and a little. Next thing I remember, or we can recall, is I'm being woke up in this room that is Star Trek-like. The lights are all dim. You can see, and there's all this equipment all over the place, and there's this big monitor up there that I'm looking straight at, and all these people standing around me, and Dr. Gopal was the doctor, and he hands me a little paper, and it's actually a picture of the artery, blocked artery, the femoral artery. And he tells me this is very serious. And he asked me how many days, and I told him 7. And then he started telling me, well, in minutes, uh, tissue, like soft tissue, starts dying. And he says 7 days, that's going to be like cartilage and muscle tissue and possibly bone is like not had any oxygen. He said things have been dying for 7 days. I'm like, oh wow, because hopefully there's enough collateral um, blood flow that it keeps the damage to a minimum. He says, but you take this paper, and he puts it on my chest right here, and he says, you get an attorney because this was wrong. They messed up. This should never have happened. Okay? And then I'm knocked out again, and I don't know, I'm coming to again, the next thing I remember, I'm coming to, and I'm in this room, and they tell me I'm in pre-op, and he tells me I'm looking up, and there's this guy with his face like right here on my face looking at me, and he says, are you there? And I'm like, yeah. He says, I'm your anesthesiologist. He says his name, I don't remember his name. He goes, I'll be the one, keeping you alive, because we're going to bring you like almost to death, down to death, and then I'm going to make sure that you come back. You'll be alive and you'll come back. I'm like, wow, okay. And then he introduces me to the surgeon, which is the one that actually sent me from the room where I had the ultrasound thing done. And he says he was looking at the angiogram, and he talked with Dr. Gopal, and he said, we're gonna rush you straight in surgery right now. When you wake up, because I gotta warn you, when you wake up, you might not have a right leg. And I was just like, I didn't have words. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It was like, oh man, Just, but I'll do the best I can, and it looks like maybe everything might go okay. He goes, but I just want to warn you that about that. I'm like, okay. And then the guy says, start counting to 10 backwards, or from 10 to 1 backwards, and I don't know. I don't even remember getting to like 5, and I was out. The next thing I remember, I'm waking up in another hospital room. This time not ICU. I'm in just a regular room, and I'm kind of a little bit groggy and everything, and I think it had been like a couple days. I think. I'm not sure, but from what my wife and everybody tells me, it was probably a couple days. And they show me this morphine pump thing, and they say I could push it every 6 minutes, but don't push it right now. We needed you to come out of it so the doctor could talk to you. I'm like, okay, I started looking around. Oh man, I got a leg. I was pretty happy about that. I mean, it hurt real bad, and it's hurting right now like a mad dog, but almost like if I just had surgery. That's how it hurts right now. In the surgery spot too. It's really weird. It never stopped hurting ever. But anyways, he starts telling me that he opened me up, and he made a scar, about that big. It goes down my leg, through the bend in where your crease of your leg goes into your body. It goes right there through the middle of that, and it was about that big, and about that wide, and right now it's about 2 inches deep still. But he said that he had to cut this collagen plug that they used. He said it was to stop the bleeding faster. When they do angiograms, they can use this collagen plug opposed to direct pressure. He told me direct pressure. They have to hold, somebody has to sit there and physically hold your artery down for like 50 minutes, and this collagen plug will stop the bleeding in 15 minutes. But somebody made a mistake, and they were holding the pressure down for 50 minutes, and they pushed this plug into the artery, and it wasn't supposed to be all the way into the artery. I don't understand the science on it, or I just know that's what he told me. And what happened is it's supposed to coagulate over the artery and stop the bleeding, but only this time it coagulated in the artery and it stopped the blood flow, and that was bad. But he said he took his little knife, whatever, scalpel, and he went and he had to cut the clot up in little bitty pieces, and they were vacuuming it out. And he said in the procedure of doing that, he said the femoral nerve runs right along the side of the femoral artery, or femoral, or however you say it. I think femoral, I think. But anyways, runs right there, and he nicked it a few times. And I don't know what nicking it means. Like, I have no idea. And I don't know how bad that, he made it sound like it was not that bad. But then he follows that with, there's going to be some permanent damage. It's like, oh. I go, like, what kind of permanent damage? And he says, he goes, I can't say. I won't know for a full year, because it takes that long for the nerves to grow back. And I'm thinking, grow back? Like, how many times did he nick it, and where, and how much is missing, But anyways, at any rate, he tells me that, and he tells me there was also some complications, which I looked on afterwards. A couple of years ago, I was actually brave enough to get my medical file, and I looked in the surgery part, and it said unremarkable. So really nothing happened in there, right? Just whip me in and whip me out. He was telling me it was a 7-hour surgery. Once they got the clot out and sutured up the artery, they had left a little piece in there. And when they released the blood to flow back into the leg, he said there was this bad blood pooling in the leg that oxygenated, and pretty nasty stuff been pooling in my leg for a week. And when it hit my brain, killed me. And he said they brought me back, and I died again, just like that fast. And they brought me back, and he stabilized me, and then he said that that little piece of clot went down in the artery, down the femoral artery into the peroneal, or I'm not a doctor, so I don't know these things, but he said the artery goes down into your calf, and then it splits. One side goes down to the inside of your ankle, and they call it something else, like anterior, I don't know. And then the other one goes on the outside and feeds the outside of the leg and ankle and foot. And he said it went down and it went off onto the outside and is lodged in the calf. And he said everywhere where there's no blood, he said that's going to effectively stop blood flowing in your foot and ankle in certain areas, right? And he was being vague about, how much area, but he started telling me the same thing about after minutes, the soft tissue dies, and then it gets progressive, as time goes by, more and without blood, oxygen, things die. And I told him, wow, he goes, but we won't know the exact how much permanent damage until about a year. I'm thinking, wow, that's a long time to wait to find out, you know, what you're going to be like for the rest of your life. Um, and then they told me I could go ahead and push the button. It was like beep, gone. So for a while there, that's all I remember is waking up, beep, I don't know how many times I did that. I don't know how many days I was like that. All I know is that a couple of times when they came to change out the morphine, change it out, I would be laying there wanting to push the button, and it seems like it's weird that you can come out of a morphine coma or whatever you want to call it and be really awake and aware and be blazing pain and remember things. You would think you'd be still groggy and everything, but I remember they said that my body was liking the morphine, and the doctor ordered them to change it to Demerol. It was like, okay, hurry up. And they got it to Demerol, and I pushed a button, and I felt it hit the arm, and then it burned and burned, burn, 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 burn. And then I would be out. And I could push that one every 6 minutes. But only I weaned myself off of that one. I don't know if they put stuff in it to burn on purpose so that you will wean yourself off. But, it seemed like it was burning. Every time it went into the artery, it would burn more and more. It was almost like irritating the artery to where I didn't want to push the button. I mean, the pain of that was almost more intense than the pain in my leg. Well, when they changed that out, they also told me that I had to be laying on my back, that I would be more aware now, and I can't turn over, and I can't sit up and bend. I have to stay flat on my back for so many days. Otherwise, I could break the suture in the femoral artery, and I would bleed out, and maybe bleed out before they can get to me, right? So don't do these things. So that kind of had me worried as I'm pushing the button, and after a while you want to turn on your side or anything, because laying in one place is really hard to do. Well, that ordeal changed my life. I wasn't able to work anymore. I worked. I went back to work, but only I couldn't keep up. My leg was losing muscle mass, and it was always on fire. Like if somebody poured gasoline on your leg and lit it on fire, and it felt like it was just burning like that all the time. My toes felt like they were frozen burning. And then there was the deep ache all through my hip, and it felt like my bone was actually hurting, like aching. And it continues to this day. And if I push it, I mean, it hurts so bad that I want to just go and not use it. You know what I mean? Because when you use it, it hurts more. But I found, like, if I don't use it, it hurts even more when I do try to use it. It gets stiff, and locked up. So I try to do everything normal. I do use a cane. For a while there, I was in a wheelchair, but I would still get out of it and walk around and stuff. And it wasn't a rental wheelchair either. They gave me the wheelchair, and they told me that I'll probably be in the wheelchair. It was like, oh no, I'm not. They gave me a power chair. I do use the power chair. Like go to the fair, go to the mall, I'm kind of weaning myself off of that now. I'll go shopping with the wife and walk around Walmart. When it gets too much, I just walk back to the car and sit down, or I'll find a place to sit down and wait for her. Like, I like Walmart because it has a McDonald's. Target has a little area, with food and stuff. You can sit down. But some of the other stores, they don't have any place to sit down, So I just go back out to the car. In the summer, that's kind of a hard thing. But anyways, um, this has been a life-changing event. It happened like that. Um, and I'm concerned for all my friends, and even not friends. I mean, I'm concerned for every human walking around that thinks that they're impervious, or they're so busy they're not enjoying things. They're not hugging their kids or taking the time to be with their kids. They're not doing their passions, whatever it is that you're passionate about. Like if you always wanted to ride that Harley, or buy that Harley, or fly that airplane, or hike that peak, or go look for Sasquatch, you know, um, traveling around the world and doing these things. I'm kind of like, I lived before, I call it my old life. I have, my old life and my new life. In my old life, I had a philosophy that I didn't want to be the guy sitting in a rocking chair, like wondering what if you know, what if when they asked me if I would go work in Africa, what if I told them no? What if I don't want any shoulda, woulda, couldas. Uh, so I did it. I mean, I hot air ballooned a bunch of times. We even crashed in a hot air balloon. Totally crashed it the weather changed and it was a storm and we crashed a hot air balloon. It was something that was so scary but fun at the same time, and it's a great memory now. Um, travel all around the world. I want to do that again too, and I think what we're doing now possibly might give me the opportunity to do some of the things. I know there's some things I just can't do. Like I can't hike to the top of the pyramid. I can't hike to the top of uh, El Capitan or Half Dome. I can't go see Machu Picchu or whatever that place is, or Tiwanaku, or Angkor Wat, or there's some things that's going to be like when we went camping down at Tule Res with my family and friends, and there's this waterfall. I don't know how far it was because I didn't go, but I heard it was quite a hike. And a couple of people even fell in the water, slid into the stream. It was difficult for them. And I had to stay in camp because I physically couldn't go. And those things burn me up. Like when you put a limitation on me, I'm not the guy. I wasn't the guy. I'm the guy that runs out and tells you, when you say I can't do it, I'm the guy that goes, I do it. I didn't mess around. All my life I've been like that. That has been something that was really difficult for me to deal with. So basically what I want to put across is all you people that are healthy and you can do these things, get to doing it, because you don't know what tomorrow brings. I don't even, it hurts whenever I see somebody go through something that changes their life like this. I mean, I totally identify with those people, and I hate seeing it, especially if they were so busy they didn't go do the things they wanted to do, or their bucket list, or whatever you want to call it. So I made this video in order to document what happened to me, so that my family will know, and also a message to my family, my grandkids, everyone: live like there's no tomorrow, okay? Live like there's no tomorrow. Do all the things that you want to do. Be all the things that you want to be. If you're in a dead-end job and you don't like it, go get another one. If you don't have enough school, go to school. If you want to fly that plane, figure out how to get lessons and go fly that plane. I mean, go do these things that you really want to do deep in here. Don't let another day go by that you don't start making plans for yourself, because you can be robbed of those things in a minute. But I hope you all take my advice. I know. I want to talk about RSD for a minute. I have RSD. This gave me RSD. It took 3 years for them to say what it was, um, but they finally told me it was RSD, reflex sympathetic dystrophy. They even call it CRPS, complex regional pain syndrome. It is the highest pain known to man. There's no other higher pain. The only thing that's maybe higher than that is having your leg amputated without, something to numb it. There's no other higher pain. I deal with it daily. I know a lot of other people that deal with it daily. They look fine. You look healthy. Everything looks good. But inside of you is jacked up, and it's burning, and it's aching. It causes you to have depression. Um, it's just a multitude of these things that is bad with RSD. So if you hear of anyone that has RSD and you look at them and say, there's nothing wrong with them, believe me, if they say they have RSD, those people are in a living hell. So much so, I joined a forum called Brain Neurotalk. Neurotalk. And in it, there's like all these different forums. You can go in for MS, Parkinson's, spinal disorders, but they have a RSD one. And I met a bunch of good people with RSD, and out of all the people I met, I made some good friends. Well, 3 of the people are no longer with us. And the pain was so severe that they took their life. And one girl was only 21. And it's sad. I tried to talk them out of it. Each one, there was 5 people that I know that wanted to take their life. 3 were successful. 2 are still with us. I won't name names, but I want you to know RSD is no joke. It is the worst thing I ever endured in my life. I spent 5 years right here where I'm at, in this little corner, and I didn't want to see anyone. I didn't go anywhere. I was mourning the loss of my old life and delirious in pain and medication. I'm glad now I have a balance. I still push the envelope. I'm still that guy. But I want everybody to come away from this with a determination to go out and do the things that you love to do. Go hug your kids. Go spend time with them. Figure out how to buy that motorcycle and get a license and get on the road. Um, Buy that boat and let the wind blow through your hair. And go fishing, go hunting, go camping, go see Italy, go see Europe, go see China, walk the Great Wall. Whatever it is, start making plans. Don't let another day go by without doing it, because you don't know what that next day may bring. And I thank you guys for being there for us with our show. You guys are awesome. Our audience that listens to our show, you guys are making some dreams come true here that I thought never, ever, ever in a million years would I be doing anything again. And it seems I'm starting to really, it's limited for me, but only I am really enjoying the companionship and camaraderie with all the Skywatchers and the Bigfooters. Um, I got I just want to say thank you guys. Tell all your friends to check us out. We got really good shows and information, and we try to do it better and better for everyone. If you have suggestions or you have friends that have really good stories, email me or message me or Jeffrey Gonzalez. But I just want to thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. You guys are making a dream come true. And I gotta go because I'm gonna start tearing up if I don't stop. But thank you guys. You guys rock. And see you in the next video.